I'm like, it was one of my polarizing things. Like, I think social media is relatively pointless. I think it's very helpful to engage with people, stay top of mind with your audience, and they're fun platforms. But I don't think people understand how transient social media is. You continue to see people move from platform to platform. It was MySpace, but nobody remembers what MySpace was, but that was like the thing. Like, and then Justin Timberlake like invested in MySpace. Like
Right.
it was Facebook, and everybody's leaving Facebook. It was Instagram, and it's TikTok, or it was Snapchat before that. Like, eventually people are going to move. So you have to keep, now it's Clubhouse. You got to be in all the things. Yeah. And it's transient. Also, all of these are just gatekeepers that control the algorithm. So, I mean, I had 100,000 followers on Facebook. And then when Facebook completely changed the game and said, you know what, we're going to make people have to boost their posts if they want their followers to see their posts.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Mic. I go by the name of Keyz, and on today I have somebody very, very awesome with us on today. Where do I start? If you are a musician, if you are a artist and producer, or if you just got started with your studio and you were online for any reason, you probably know this man. He's probably helped you somewhere along your journey. He also teaches business. He's an excellent coach. He's an excellent teacher, an educator. I mean, he can probably teach you rocket science if he wanted to. His goal is to, let's see if I remember this. His goal is to do in your business, to work less and to live and give more. I bring to the stage none other than the one, the only Graham Cochrane. Graham, how are you?
What an intro. I'm doing great after that. Feeling pretty pumped up now.
I try to nail the intro. I feel like, well, to all, but you certainly do deserve it. Like I said, anybody online, if you did anything music wise, then you know him from back in the day, with his brand, The Recording Revolution, and now you may have known him, or if you don't know, how much of a business guru, a business gorilla he is in the online space right now. We're going to get into all of that. But Graham, first off, can you introduce yourself? Can you introduce yourself, and not me introduce?
Probably not as well as you did. I tell people I'm a musician first, and got into music production and recording, and went to school for that, and then stumbled into teaching people how to record. I actually started a YouTube channel and a blog actually to get clients for my studio work, for my freelance work. And that turned into a business where I was actually teaching people how to do that. So that was the Recording Revolution, and that still is going strong today, and bringing on all kinds of friends of mine who are more talented than me to teach all the tricks and tips about how to make your production sound really, really good at home. So I've been doing that for almost 12 years now. It's been a huge pleasure and a privilege to help just millions of musicians make great sounding recordings on the cheap. And then that created a love for a business, and specifically online business, and specifically creating digital products like online courses that teach people things that change their world, and membership sites and coaching packages. And so I've been teaching others how to do that. I've been coaching people sort of offline. How did you do what you did, kind of thing, Graham? How did you create your business? And so about 3 years ago, I started another official brand under my name, teaching everything I've done to build the Recording Revolution, and how I build businesses and how I think about it. And that's been so much fun. And now I do the videos every week on that, and the Graham Cochrane Show podcast. And it's been a blast.
Cool. That's awesome. So you said that you started the Recording Revolution. So I know a bit of your story because I follow you religiously. I don't know if others follow you like I follow you, but can you give kind of a story to, what all led into, your musical business, that side? Actually, you said that it was to get clients, but can you kind of lead us up into that point? I think a lot of people can relate to your story and can sympathize with how you were at that particular time and how you made the best of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I got started in business, it was 2009, and it was a very similar economic climate to how it's felt the last year here. This is the last global recession. My wife and I moved from Virginia to Florida to help a buddy plant a church, and I was just going to move and get a job and have an adventure. And before we left, I actually lost my job in Virginia. They were downsizing, and then when I got a job in Florida, after I bought a house and had our first baby, I lost that job because that company dissolved. They ran out of money. So we're in a new state. You didn't know anybody, new city, bills to pay, first baby to take care of, and then now unemployed for the second time in the same year. And it was a scary time. If you remember what it felt like in 2009, everyone was just predicting like this is the end. It's never going to get better, which is crazy because it got so much better. And then, it got hard again with COVID. I mean, every 9 years there's a recession pretty much. So there's always something bad that happens pretty cyclically. But I felt pretty doom and gloom. And it was in those moments that the only thing I know to make money that I could do right now is my freelance stuff. I've been recording and mixing bands forever. But now I don't know anybody locally, so I got to get as much client work as I can remote from previous clients. But I'm also going to try to put my name out there on the internet and see if people will find me and hire me that way. So that was the genesis for starting a blog. And so with a blog, I figured, what can I put out that people would care about, that would draw the attention of people? And that's when I started blogging about kind of how I'm getting sounds, and I would do videos like what I'm doing with my clients, like how to put together a home studio. I thought if it might help people record a bit, maybe they'd hire me to mix. And so I was just trying anything. It was a really scary time. After our money ran out, we had a little bit of savings. After that ran out, we had to go on food stamps for 18 months, which, my wife that stuff doesn't bother her as much. For me, it was a kind of a blow to my pride. I've always worked and taken care of things. I've been working since I was a teenager. So I always felt like I could work and provide. And here I was working, but I wasn't getting paid yet. I was trying to get clients, but I felt like it was a failure to kind of say like, I need help, from the government. And so that was a humbling point for me. But during those 18 months, I was trying to build an audience online. I was trying to create products or monetize my content through, sponsorships or ads. I was trying to be an influencer before I knew what an influencer was. I was trying everything. And dude, God taught me a lot during that period about what faithfulness looks like. I learned a lot about practical things about business. I learned a lot about content and audience building and serving people. And after about 18 months to 2 years, the business started to grow to the point where I was replacing my previous day job. My whole goal was if I could because what I was realizing is not only could I get freelance clients, but people would pay me to teach them how to record music through the means of like an online course. And so I saw that as but my goal would be if I could, between freelancing and my online course sales, make $60,000 a year. That was more than I ever made in my life. That was what my wife and I used to make combined. And she was now going to stay home with our baby. So I was like, if I could make 60,000 myself working from home, talking about music, how dope would that be? That'd be the coolest thing ever. So that was like my dream. And it took me 2 years to reach that goal. My second year of business, I hit $80,000. Wow. And most of it came in that second half. It was like nothing for a year and a half. And then it really started to pick up. And then since then it's been off to the races, and it's been a whole whirlwind.
Wow. So let me ask you this, because this is a musical channel. It's a musical channel, but we're definitely going to talk about business as well. So to the current artists and in the state that we're in now, because when you started back around 2009, blogs were there, but the internet kind of wasn't what it is today. So to the artist or to the musician, to the producer, the engineer, whoever is out there right now, and they want to start, doing they want, everybody's goal in music is for their music to replace their job and they can do it full time. And, that's everybody's goal. So what ways do you see now as musicians, artists, producers, engineers that they can kind of migrate to the online space or migrate to doing business or better business, or even what is business this day and age, kind of in the fashion that you have done with the recording revolution?
Yeah, man. I think everything in the music industry has changed, and at the same time, nothing has changed. And so what I mean by that is what hasn't changed is people's love for music. I think that's only grown. The appetite for music consumption's only grown with streaming services, and it's insane. So people still love music. We still need good music to be made because there's still crappy music out there. And people love following musicians and bands and artists that they love. If what people loved when I was growing up, watching like MTV and VH1, and like I would watch like behind the scenes of the bands I liked. Like I wanted to know who these people were. I would read every article in Rolling Stone magazine. That's only increased now. Now you can follow them on Instagram or TikTok. Like it's the same thing. And you still need to get in front of an audience, and you still need to get people to hear about you, that you exist, and connect you. Like you sound kind of like so-and-so and so-and-so. You have to be relatable in some way, shape, or form for people to go, oh, I like this artist, so I'll probably like you. None of that's changed. But what has changed is where the dream used to be. Like for me growing up as a kid in the 90s, I'm a rock and roll kid. So in the 90s, it was like grunge. It was, Pearl Jam and Soundgarden and Nirvana and Foo Fighters and Stone Temple Pilots. Those guys, they were my heroes. I wanted to do that. And what I meant by that, I just wanted to write songs, like you said, play live gigs, be in music videos. And that was my job. The only way that worked, though, for decades was that you had an entire business supporting you. A whole label that would have, marketing teams to get you on the radio. They would have teams to make your music videos, and they would have budgets to get you, on tour in front of other bands. Like there's a whole marketing engine that existed for you to ever be heard and for people to care and buy your record. And then record sales will pay for that. Well, now, like that same stuff has to happen, but now labels don't really take a chance on new artists nearly as much as they used to, because there's not as much money to be made in album sales, which is all they know is like album sales. So some people think the music industry is dying, but it's just evolving. And so if you're an artist today, there's a couple of paths you can take. So like the pure artist path would probably be, you need to be your own marketing team. The good news is, you have all these free tools to get in front of millions of people instantly. It's called the internet. It's called YouTube. It's called Instagram. It's called TikTok. It's called any of these tools. Well, that didn't exist when I was growing up. You had to be on the radio like that. And that was like, how can I get on the radio? Like that was the gatekeepers were there. They're not there anymore. There's no gatekeepers. Now anybody can create content. So that's a good thing. The bad thing is everybody's doing it. So it's a crowded field. So you actually really have to be talented. You actually really have to add value, but you have to market yourself. And so you have to see yourself as a brand, because that's what you've always been. Even if back in the day, you just played the music, somebody else marketed you as a brand. Now it's the same rules, that just now it's your responsibility. And I think that's where a lot of musicians hate it. They're like, I don't want that responsibility, but that's the reality we live in. And if you embrace it, I think you can see that, okay, it's a new set of skills I have to learn, but I no longer have to depend on other people accepting me or not accepting me, like the A&R reps or the label. I can now sort of forge my own future. If I'm really determined and I think I'm really talented, I can create my own fan base. I can do my own marketing. I can learn how to grow an email list. I can learn how to create merch. I can learn how to do digital releases. I can learn how to create a fan club or a Patreon where I can get supporters to pay me every month. I got a friend who does music videos, a cappella music videos on YouTube. Peter Hollins is his name. And he'll do covers of popular songs and then like arrange it for a human voice, sing all the parts, make it sound like a full production. And he just puts out music. He doesn't even write his own songs. He's doing covers. People love him. And he makes a living through Patreon, where his supporters, his patrons, pay him $1 or $2 or $5 a month or a video or whatever. He makes multiple six figures a month from all of his fans, because he's built a fan base for free on YouTube. And then now he's monetized that through Patreon, where they're paying him to keep showing up and making cool videos that they love and doing new music. That's how he pays his bills and takes care of his kids and his family. So that's a model for the pure musician. On the flip side, I took a different path, which was, what ways can I make a living online using my skills? And so I have an ancillary skill, which is recording and mixing. So yeah, I'm a musician first, but I could teach you recording and mixing. So once I realized you can actually build a business around that, that paid my bills and then allows me to this day to make an album every year. And it doesn't matter if it sells, or it doesn't matter if anybody actually hears it. I can make a record whenever I want, with whomever I want, as long or as short as I want. And that's allowed me to do like worship songs for my church, solo music on my own without a band, collaborate with an EDM producer like Ill Factor out in Miami, like just do whatever I want because my bills are paid. So now I don't actually need a fan base or need my music to pay the bills. My audio business over here pays the bills. And now I can do music. So that's an option you have too. So that's one thing that I think is connected with my history with the recording revolution and your audience. And then now what I'm doing more intently with the business and teaching people online business. A lot of musicians are following me over on that brand because they've got all kinds of other skills they could monetize that could allow them to quit their day job if they don't want to work there anymore. And maybe they work 10, 20 hours a week on their online business to pay all their bills. And the other 20 hours a week, they make music. And it's the same thing. It's just a unique, new, modern way. So that's another path that's available to people. So
you did mention something, and I know that you have preached this a lot in your past, and it's the model of having an audience, and then with that audience, you can do whatever you want. How does the modern musician get an audience? Because some of them think because they have an X amount of followers on Instagram that they have that many people who are following them. So can you kind of tell us a little bit about the importance of a fan base, what actually is your fan base, and what are some ways that we can increase our room, our space, our occupancy for more fans?
That's a great question. So it starts with what you just said, Keith, which is, and this is what I teach my students: without an audience, nothing's possible. But with an audience, anything is possible. And it can look totally different than what I'm doing or anybody else is doing. But the audience is the asset. The audience is the key. Your music isn't the asset. Your business idea isn't the asset. The audience is the asset for anything you want to do in anything in life. You need people who care. I mean, if you want to run for office, if you want to have a nonprofit, if you want to have a business, if you want to have a fan base, like it's always the people, right? So like even Netflix, the movies, no one's going to make movies for Netflix if there's no one subscribed to Netflix. We need eyeballs. It's all about people. So the key is that you need an audience. That's the most important thing. So audience building is the number one thing I'm doing. And it's the only thing that I even won't not that I won't outsource, but like it's the one thing you can't get rid of in your business. There's a lot of activities you can get rid of. That's how I'm working so few hours a week, is I'm like, that's not necessary, but audience building never stops. So how do you build an audience? The only way to build an audience is to do something that people care about. And generally speaking, we could say add value to people. Okay, well, what does that mean? Well, you have to kind of figure that out. It depends on who you're trying to reach and what would they find valuable. So for me, what I do is I was trying to help musicians record music. I thought like no one's going to pay attention to a guy like me unless I show up online and have the most helpful YouTube videos, period. How to EQ a kick drum, how to use Pro Tools. What microphone do I need? Do I need expensive gear? How do I build a home studio on the cheap? Like I'm going to show up and I'm going to make what I think is the most helpful videos so that if I'm lucky enough that somebody finds one of my videos and that's all they ever watch, they don't click on anything else, they don't watch anything else, they walk away saying, dude, not only was that not a waste of time, because most videos and most content is a waste of time, literally, but this was like super life-changing, even in a small way. I learned one little thing, or I was encouraged, or this guy made me believe that I can do it, or he told me that I don't need $1,000 microphone. Like sometimes people just need a little bit of encouragement to feel like, okay, I can do this. And that's what I feel like I'm trying to do in my videos. That is me adding value to somebody. So they go, I don't know who this Graham guy is, but that was really helpful. And I'm trying to do that in the business space as well. People land on my videos and I want them to go, dude, this guy's telling me to stop hustling. This guy's telling me I can grow my business while working fewer hours. This is crazy. And that's another element to content as well, is stand out. Like, be polarizing. Say things like, I'll make fun of expensive equipment on the recording revolution. I'll make fun of people who say you need to have, an outboard summer for your box, like an analog summing mixer. Like, I'll make fun of anything, whatever's trendy and expensive and is deemed necessary for pro recordings. I'll call it out and make fun of it. Because I really believe that it's BS and you don't need that. But B, I'm really trying to both irritate people who spend money on expensive equipment, and then which will alienate me from them, which is good. But then I'm really trying to bolster my fan base of people who feel like all I can afford is a $100 interface and a $100 microphone, but I feel like I can't get a professional recording, and I want to bolster them so they realize they can. So say polarizing things, but show up and add value. So I do that in teaching. You can do that through entertainment. You can do that through, which is, straight up with your music. You can do that through motivation and encouragement. You can do that through like anything that, like, when people watch it or engage with it, it was worth their time and makes their lives a little bit better. So I'm using tools like YouTube primarily. I do a podcast. I have blog posts as well. Social media can help, but then here's the final piece of this is, you mentioned it, followers on Instagram or followers on any platform. I'm like, it was one of my polarizing things. Like, I think social media is relatively pointless. I think it's very helpful to engage with people, stay top of mind with your audience, and they're fun platforms. But I don't think people understand how transient social media is. You continue to see people move from platform to platform. It was MySpace, but nobody remembers what MySpace was, but that was like the thing. Like, and then Justin Timberlake invested in MySpace. Like right. It was Facebook, and everybody's leaving Facebook. It was Instagram, and it's TikTok, or it was Snapchat before that. Like, eventually people are going to move. So you have to keep, now it's Clubhouse. So you got to be in all the things. Yeah. And it's transient. Also, all these are just gatekeepers that control the algorithm. So, I mean, I had 100,000 followers on Facebook. And then when Facebook completely changed the game and said, you know what, we're going to make people have to boost their posts if they want their followers to see their posts, which is ridiculous, because that was the whole point of people chose to follow me. And now they don't see me unless I pay Facebook. These are my followers, and I can't see my stuff. My web traffic dropped in half overnight when that happened, when it went from 100% people seeing it to only 13 to now on Instagram, like 3 to 4% of your followers actually see what's in your feed. It's crazy. So the problem is a gatekeeper can change the rules on you at any point. Yeah. And then the other problem is to get someone to like something or follow you, it takes no commitment. They could be your super fans, but most of them, like, it takes no commitment whatsoever. So they're just like lurking and watching what you're doing. Mm-hmm. A real fan is someone who's given you their email address. And this is what I'm telling everyone to do. I've been telling them to do it for 12 years and they think I'm crazy. But like, the email list is the most important thing you could collect, more than followers on any platform. It doesn't matter. And there's two reasons. Well, there's a lot of reasons, but the two big ones that come to mind are, that's a much more engaged fan. Like, when someone's giving you their email address, they're saying, hey, follow up with me. So you get a higher quality group of people. And then two, you can literally directly email them. There's no middleman. There's no gatekeeper. You can go right to their inbox. Now, whether they open it or see it, you can't control that. But there's no like Facebook in between you and them. And people don't change their email address. The statistics of people who change their email address are really, really low. And this is what I'm teaching people in the online space is, if you ever want to sell anything, including your album or your merch or tickets to your show, and they let you do shows again, or whatever you're doing, or your live stream, if you want to sell it to live stream, people are comfortable buying through email marketing. They're not nearly as comfortable buying on social media. Like, the stats are just staggering. Like, people are still buying through, they get an email, oh, Graham's new album's out. I'll check it out and I'll buy it. Oh, Keith is doing a live stream. It's $5. They see the email. They're used to interacting there. On social media, they'll see it and they'll forget, oh, that sounds cool, but they won't actually engage and buy nearly as much as an email. So the key is, whatever you want to do, you have to build an audience every day. You want to build an audience by adding value. And so you have to know what your audience would find valuable. You want to be polarizing and be true to who you are. You don't have to be everything to everyone. I love the Kevin Kelly concept, the 1,000 true fans. Like if you have you don't need millions of followers. If you have 1,000 super fans who love everything you do, will follow you anywhere, buy whatever you have. If 1,000 people paid you $100 a year or $8 a month, you have $100,000 business. So it's just like you just need 1,000 people. So you want those super fans, and ideal is to get their email address so then you can contact them whenever you've got something new happening, free or paid. And that's how you build that loyal tribe that will follow you to whatever else you're doing next.
Wow. So that was really jam-packed and good. I got a lot from that. The first thing I got from that was you're very true with how you would say polarizing things. You would say polarizing things. I remember when you were downing. I think you were reviewing like a Rode NT1A or something like that. A Rode NT. It was like a cheap microphone, and you were really bashing like expensive microphones. I heard in business you bashing keto. So to everybody who does keto, I remember you was bashing. So and I was thinking, I'm like, wow, that really subconsciously that really does set them apart. Like I might not have remembered much of that video, but I did remember this. Maybe I shouldn't do keto, so it's like, but that line alone, really, sets you apart. And then even like with you, with your setup. Now, personally, me, I want no flack from the audio community. I had a pair of Rocket 8s, studio monitors, and I did not like them. I did not. But you are somebody, you're like, listen, I'm cool. I could have upgraded a long time ago. I'm fine with my Rockets, and you still rock out with them. So, I mean, it was just excited to hear you say that, out loud. Like you really don't care what other people say or what other people do. You found ways to make it work with what you have. All right. So let's switch gears a little bit for you. So you are great of faith, and it's we can see that on your videos, how you mention your faith, how you implement the Bible, in which by far is one of the greatest wisest books ever. I mean, any question you actually have, there's some form of answer actually in that book. How big and how great of an impact does faith have on you, in your business, in your music, on a day-to-day basis? Like how much does it influence the decisions you make, even with your business?
Yeah, man. I mean, it touches every part of me. Like, I've never understood how a Christian can say, well, I have my spiritual life, my Christian life over here, and then I have my family and my business, and I make compartmentalized, independent decisions based on all those things. That if you read the Bible, you realize that's not how God intended it to be. Like it's all encompassing, and it literally, when people started to follow Jesus, they were called the Way. That's what they called themselves before they were called Christians, right? You read that in the book of Acts. And so they were distinguished because they literally kind of left their way of life and followed a different way, which was Jesus's way. And so it encompasses everything about the way they handle relationships, money, work. So for me personally, my faith does a lot of things. It informs that my work has meaning, that I was born with purpose. I'm an image bearer of God. So I reflect something about God's character and nature. And I exist to bring him glory. I mean, doing things that make him proud and make his name famous, and then also do what I was created to do, because we're creations. Just like, Apple creates an iPhone, and they want the iPhone to function in the way they created it. Somebody created my toaster, and the toaster shouldn't want to be a coffee maker. It should make toast. The designer created it to be. So God designed us each with unique abilities. And so part of my mission in life is to figure out, what did God design me to do? And I should do that to the best of my abilities and be excellent. So as a Christian, I should be excellent what I do. I try to have integrity in what I do. It informs like the purpose of my work. So my work isn't just to make money for my family or to buy nice things or have nice things or just have a running checklist of like how awesome I am because of how big my bank account is or whatever. Because in business, it gets really weird because you're usually ambitious, and so you hit a goal, and then the problem is well, I got to move the yard line, the field goal sticks further down and hit the next goal. It never ends, and we're all wired that way if you're successful or ambitious in any way. So I think having a Christian faith gives a lot more meaning to your work, so you don't get caught in that cycle. So, for example, work for me is partly to provide for my family, which is a biblical concept. It's partly to make the world a better place. Like we're called as Christians, starting in the book of Genesis, at the very beginning, Genesis chapter 1, God creates humans and he tells Adam and Eve to have dominion over the earth and to basically name the animals and create culture and to be fruitful and multiply. So he's basically saying like, hey, I set up this planet and all these resources. Now go make stuff and make it even better. Like take what I've got and like make it wonderful. So the great thing is with our careers and in our lives, we're supposed to make everything as better as we possibly can in our little corner of the universe. So I try to do that in the music space. Like I want to help people literally make better sounding music, which will help everyone's ears, and then make their lives better because they're realizing their creative goals. I do that in my business. I'm trying to teach other business owners or prospective business owners or people who hate their job and don't think of themselves as a business owner, how to create a better life for themselves. So my work is important because it helps people have a better life. And then the money that I make has more purposes than just providing for my needs. I try to use a lot of that money to give away. So not only giving to our church, but to organizations and people that we really believe in that are doing a lot of good work in the world that need funding. There's so many great causes that just need donors. And so we try to funnel a ton of our profit from my business, my wife's business, to some organizations that we care about, or just help out friends and pay for adoptions or buy people cars that are in need. Like whatever cool stuff you can do when you create money. Wealth is meant to be used to make the world a better place, to be enjoyed and to be used to serve people. So we try to do both. And then a big thing that I try to talk about that it's not as popular because it's not what people are YouTubing and Googling, but like, when you have a faith in Christ, like your work isn't your identity anymore or your achievements aren't your identity, because your identity as a son or daughter of the King, of Jesus. So that means that I can like go to work and create cool stuff and it can work and be great and I can celebrate it and thank God, or it could fail and I can be bummed, but I don't have to feel like I'm a failure because it failed, or that like my life is over, or my purpose is over. It's just that what I didn't track out, because that's not who I am. It's just something I do. And I can separate them enough in a healthy way. Ideally, sometimes I struggle with this, but ideally that, I'm just trying to serve God and serve people wherever I can using the talents and the opportunities he's given me. And the pressure is off me for the results. Like a lot of biblical principle teaches like sort of a sowing and reaping mentality. Like we're tasked with the planting of seeds, the sowing. We're not, God brings the rain, God brings the sun, scriptures say, right? But you still have to plant something. So I'll show up and do my part, but I'm not in control of the weather. So God's got to bring the rain, he's got to bring the sun. And sometimes he won't. He's not a genie in a bottle. Sometimes he won't for whatever reason. And I have to be okay with that. Like when I was on food stamps for 18 months, like I was working hard. There just wasn't a lot to show for it back then, but God was teaching me things. He was building things that I couldn't see. Now there's a lot more of harvest that's happening right now. And maybe it won't always be that way. I don't ever want to assume it will, but it takes some of that pressure off when I think you're a Christian and you can let God be God and you can just be you.
Man, that's awesome. That's so awesome. So let me ask you this, a very broad question. Very broad question, means a lot of things, has a lot of different answers. But how do we make passive income?
I like the transition there, man.
Just a hard transition.
I'm going to connect the two. I think God wants us to be faithful with whatever he gives us. One way I would define faithfulness is efficiency, right? Like humans are so clever and creative. They're always trying to find a better way to do something.
That's good.
Going back to the iPhone, right? Like this iPhone, I don't even know which version this is, maybe 11. Way better than the first iPhone that came out in 2007. Why? Because they're relentless trying to make it better. What could we do? It's good, but what could we do to make it better? And I think that's a God-given trait because we image God. He's like, hey, good stuff. How can we make this better? And one way to make things better is to make things more efficient, right? We're always trying to like do the best work we can. I think it should be a noble goal. And it used to be, even in America, there was a goal in the early 1900s to be as efficient as possible in the workplace. And so people were coming up with machines and inventions that would allow the American worker to reduce the work week from 40 hours a week down to 20 hours a week. Like there was all this literature being written about the great future of the 1980s and the 1990s when we'll have, our biggest problem will be what to do with all our leisure time, because we'll have all this time on our hands because we will have become so efficient with computers and technology. And the opposite's happened. All we've done with the technology is we've just worked harder and worked more. And there's a lot of psychological reasons why we're a jacked up culture that we're basically all workaholics for the most part, but we just rebranded it as hustle or ambition or whatever.
Yep.
I say that's ridiculous. I say, as much as I love creating content, I love coaching people, I love what I do. You know what I want to do also? I want to watch Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League for 4 hours on HBO Max over and over again. That's what I want to do sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes I want to go to the beach. Sometimes I want to travel to Europe with my family when COVID's not happening. Sometimes I just want to watch some YouTube videos and catch up on stupid stuff that I haven't caught up on. Sometimes I want to go to sleep early. Sometimes I want to get to the gym. Sometimes I'd like to take my wife on a date. To have time to do all those things, I need to be more efficient in my work. So I'm obsessive with like finding the best way to continuously do my work with excellence and reach my goals and serve people well while working fewer hours. And so every year I reassess, like, how can I do that? So the best way I found is through passive income style businesses, or turning what you do maybe with a service-based business, creating more of a passive income element to it, even if it's not 100% passive. The way that works, there's a million ways to create passive income. Some of the old school ways are like having real estate that you save up and pay for, and you have tenants paying you rent checks, or writing a book or writing a song that makes, that goes big and you have royalty checks coming in. All that stuff is passive income. But there's easier ways to do it now with digital online businesses where you can create something once, like an online course. Like I have a course called Mixing University. I created it in 2018, and it sells every day through email marketing, through online webinars, through trainings to people who find me on YouTube and they want to know more. All these automated systems that are just presenting them this course that they can buy. And some people do, some people don't. But every day, this digital thing can transact through software to people that just found it. And the money goes in my bank account and they get access to the course. And I don't even know who they are. And they don't even really have to know much about me. And that's where I've done the work up front and I wasn't paid for it, but I have created systems and built an audience and integrated the two so that now you and I can have this conversation and I'm probably making sales right now while we're talking, because it's not dependent on me serving a client or being in the office for 8 hours. I have value that's being sold digitally. So that's, to me, the secret to passive income in the modern era is digital products or digital services that don't require your presence. And if you have an audience to capture leads and you have a system to present them with your offers, you can create pretty incredible passive income. It's mostly hands-off. It's not 100% hands-off. I still have to do some work. But again, I've gone from I was working 32 hours a week on my business at its highest down to about 4 hours a week max. So it's pretty, that's pretty nice. It's not 100%, it's not 0 hours, but 4 hours a week is not bad.
All right, Graham. So the question that I want to ask you is this, because I, like many others, we have tried to implement older forms, or not older forms, but we have tried to implement different forms of passive income in our brick and mortar type businesses, meaning I run a studio, I'm a producer, I'm an engineer, people come here, they record, they have to come here. Or I could do remote mixing, mastering, or production work, but still I'm trading time for value. So, and we've tried, different passive ways, when the big instrumental online with BeatStars and Airbit, that was a thing. And then, and then we put out, now the big thing is sample packs and mixing templates for your DAW, and all of these things. What are some passive ways, you said like courses and stuff like that. Would you suggest that musicians, engineers, producers, that we just take the basic things that we know and actually implement them in a course of some sort? I remember I tried to do a community, online community. I remember listening to one of your videos, and you were like, yo, you know what, communities are cool, but at some level you still have to trade your time for the value inside that community. So how do we kind of take our brick and mortar type of businesses and actually strongly implement a online passive income model to our business?
Yeah, man. I mean, I think to your point about the community, I mean, what I was probably saying is communities and membership sites do take more ongoing work than an online course does. But I would probably venture to say that engineers or musicians who don't feel like they're an educator as much, or like an online course seems daunting, I would almost say a community would be an easier play for them, because community is what's lacking. People are looking for more curated groups of people to be a part of that are maybe more niched. So you could literally niche down to what you want to have a community built around. And you could be the facilitator of that community. You can do lives, and you can determine how often you show up. I mean, it could be like once a week you do a live, every other week you do a live. It could be mostly like a Facebook group type community, or I use Kajabi communities because they're sort of private and under my brand. You could create content for them. You can like create challenges. You could do all kinds of stuff, but people could pay a small fee every month to be a part of this curated community where you're sort of leading the charge, helping, maybe a little bit of sharing what you're doing in the studio, what you're doing with your music, and helping other people like you. So it could be a little bit of teaching. But if you're charismatic enough and a leader enough to say, like, I want to help people out and I want to start a community, you could build that with recurring revenue where you know it's a fixed amount of hours you're willing to give it every week. And that can be capped. It really can be capped, because then the number of people that join over time will increase your revenue. So again, it's a fixed amount of work that could still scale the revenue. So if you have 100 people in the community paying you $10 a month or $15 a month, that's great. But what if you had 1,000 people in the community paying you the same amount? Your work doesn't change. It doesn't change. And then as it grows, you can even get moderators to sort of help manage the community for you if you just give them free membership or hook them up. Like, you find your super fans who will do a lot of that for you. But communities are a great way to build recurring passive income, I think, for people who don't really want to build a course or do that kind of content. But to your other point, with a course, though, I think, yes, start with the basics that you can teach. I don't think you can take somebody somewhere you've never been. So only teach what you know. There's always someone who's not where you are. So that's how I started my very first course, because I thought, like, what could I teach that people would pay? Like, it took me forever to think about what I could teach. But you know what I thought of at first was, I'm really good at Pro Tools. I've been using it for a lot of years, and I don't think it's confusing to me. I feel very comfortable with it, and I've taught it to people before, and I've realized that people feel overwhelmed, and when they look at it, they think it's confusing, or because they basically never used a DAW. And this was years ago when there weren't even as many DAWs. So just the concept was new to people. And so I said, I feel like I could comfortably film a 3-hour course explaining everything about Pro Tools as if someone was sitting next to me in the studio, and I'm going to show them on the screen how to do everything, explain all the windows, and we'll do a little recording, we'll do a little mixing in there as well, show you how it works. That was the only thing I felt comfortable teaching. And I thought it was pretty basic, but it turned out to be a huge seller for me early on, because people were like, thank you so much for explaining this in a way that I can understand. And then that gave me some confidence to release maybe a course on drums. I think I could teach you how to record drums, or guitar, or vocal production, and then eventually mixing. It took me 2 years to be okay with doing a whole course on mixing, because I was just like, dude, mixing's hard. And I don't know if I feel like I'm qualified enough to teach.
Wild West.
So, man, I just think start with what you know and keep it basic. That's fine. It's going to add value to somebody.
Cool. So that's really awesome. And before we go further, I kind of want to plug you, because I don't think people really understand how dope of an instructor you are. That's something that you have shown, from the beginning of the recording revolution to the Graham Cochrane brand now, that you take explaining things and teaching things, pretty seriously, because you're very, you can articulate things clearly. And I tend to find like, those that usually tells that you know what you're talking about, and that you're dedicated to the niche that you're in or the industry that you're in, is when you can fully articulate actually what's going on. And for anybody out there who wants to know more about music or business, I'm telling you now, you need to subscribe to Graham. Okay. So you have a book coming out soon. Congratulations, first of all. You have a book coming out. What things can we expect in this book, and how do you feel like it will benefit us?
Yeah, man, I'm really excited. I've just finished the manuscript, turned it into the publisher last week, so we're starting the editing process here soon. This book is designed to help normal people figure out how to get paid for what they know, like how to earn their what they think is normal knowledge to them. It's trying to show them that there is an industry that exists, a $300 billion and counting industry called the knowledge commerce industry that exists, where people are making a great living, packaging their knowledge, their experience, the things they're passionate about into digital products. And that now is the beginning of a wave. Like, I don't think this wave is come and gone. I think we're at the beginning of the wave now for the next 30, 40 years at least, of a new form of education. You don't have to be what you think of an expert. You don't have to be credentialed. You don't have to have a college degree. You don't have to have any money. You could start this business for less than $50. And you can, this book is going to show you how to figure out what it is that that people would find profitable and valuable and they would want to buy. And then it breaks through a lot of the mental barriers, because most people are like, dude, I can't do that. Like, you could do that. I can't do that. So it breaks down all of that. And then it walks you through the whole business model. It's very didactic of here's literally how to get started. Here's step one, because there's a 6-step process that I teach in all my material. I'm trying to teach that in the book so people could take this book and go, man, maybe I could start an online business. Man, maybe, and here's how to do it. And they could run with that book and build a 6-figure or more business with just a book. That's the goal.
Wow. And the way how you just broke that down, I'm just like, oh man, I guess I really got to grab that book. There's a business that exists out there that I don't know of, like that, that I need to take a part of. Man, that's so awesome. And we're about to be wrapping up soon because I don't want to be too long with this. But Graham, you are a lot of things. You're a husband, you're a father, you are an educator, musician, business coach, teacher. If you were to be known for one thing, what would you want for people to associate with your name?
Man, that's a great question. I would say encouragement. I feel like one of my gifts and one of my callings is to encourage people, and you could deem that empowerment also. So whether I'm teaching recording or mixing, or I'm teaching online business, what I'm really doing is encouraging people and making their day that much better by helping them feel like, man, I have worth, I have value, I can do this thing. I'm gonna go do this thing. Thank you, Graham. That's what I want to be known for, is a giant encourager and empowerer of people.
Man, that's awesome. That's so awesome, Graham. I thank you for jumping on this call with me on today. Real quick, if anyone were to find you, where are you at? Because you're not on social media. You are, but you're not. And that's the one thing I didn't say earlier. Graham has you've been doing a social media fast. And the funny thing is, I started mine social media fast probably right before you started yours, but you're definitely still on yours. Now I'm on social media, but on the back end. So I'm using other tools just to post, but I don't consume anything. If you have a birthday, charge it to my head, not to my heart, because Facebook did not tell me, So so where can people find you? Where are you at if you want for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, I love that, man. I would say go to grahamcochrane.com, because there's a ton of free resources there. Like if any of this has been interesting to you, like the passive income stuff, and you're like, I want to know a little bit more about how this works, I have a whole workshop that's free right there on the homepage. It's about 45 minutes. And it's like, let me pull the curtain back on how both of my businesses are run, explain everything. It's a great entry point to see if that's interesting to you. On that page, you can email me. On that website, you can email me. And then, of course, on YouTube, I'm putting out content every week on YouTube. And I'm usually interacting in the comments there because that's where most of my engagement is happening there right now. But I can't promise I'll say hi to you there because, I'm pretty strict with my time. But it's been a fun ride there to see what people are liking on YouTube and what content they want next. So you can always try to hit me up there too.
Well, Graham, once again, I want to say thank you for jumping on with me today. For anybody watching, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more videos like this, and I will see you in the next video.